Welcome to the BVTV network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. This is episode 3 in the BVTV Looking Beyond the Car in Front trilogy with leading recruitment expert Grant Duncan. Hello again, Grant.
Hi there. Good to see you again, Malcolm.
I am so enjoying what you're saying, but I've so enjoyed your book. I've got lots and lots and lots of things to want to go back to it and everything like that. I just think your writing style will appeal to those people, to my viewers, because they will enjoy those little nuggets and going back again and the motivation that you give to people. Now, we've arrived at our final stage in a career change potted 3-step strategy. And stage 3 is doing it, or shall we say executing the strategy. I find it's a stage that too many stand on the diving board, plucking up courage to make the dive, but often failing to do so for many reasons, especially risk. So what's your thoughts and experiences here on avoiding a lack of execution? And how does your book guide readers in this important stage?
It's a great question, and I think it's probably sits at the heart of a lot of career paralysis that many executives feel. So let's sort of quickly ask, well, how can that happen? Okay, so I think the first thing is something that we can't do much about. It's either got a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, and a lot of talked about Carol Dweck's book, and if you haven't read it and if you haven't got into her approach, it's really fascinating, and it really speaks to a lot of truths, I think, in most of our lives. But what I've got to say, the majority of people I know have a fixed mindset, and part of your life is sort of trying to kind of get beyond that fixed mindset, because what it does mean is it means you have a desire, really, you feel more comfortable staying in your lane, staying in your comfort zone. So we all have to kind of, I have a fixed mindset, so I have to struggle with that sort of every day, every time I make a decision or a choice. So that's the first thing to think about, and not, to be aware of it, acknowledge it, but don't let it boss you about. Second thing is, it's called the "it's all going so well" syndrome. You're getting promoted, you're getting pay rises. Maybe you get poached by a direct competitor. So, what's wrong? What's wrong with this picture? It's all going really well. That's fine until it stops going well. Because something can happen, externally can happen. There can be a merger, where there's two of everything. There could be a new chief executive comes in with a whole bunch of new ideas. Or you just wake up and you just don't feel you just don't feel excited anymore about getting to it. And the trouble is, at that point, it's almost a bit too late, So, but that's another reason, why people get stuck. And then, kind of related to that, is what I'd call midlife caution. So this is where, at both a professional level, it's all going so well, but also at a personal level, if you've got married, you've got kids, you've got a mortgage, all these things start to build up, and they create a real risk aversion. And I think that's where people end up getting stuck behind the car in front, and maybe sort of consciously so. So in order to look beyond the car in front, I think there's a number of basic guidelines here. The first is just be open to change. I think if there's one learning I changed careers in my late 40s. I'd had a 20-year plus career in advertising, and I woke up one day and I was bored. And the trouble is, I didn't have a plan, so it was a bit of a tricky situation. And one of the reasons why I wrote this book, that's hopefully people won't end up in that situation. But what I was open to change, and I had a sort of gap year. I was lucky enough; I sold my shares, so I had enough to sort of keep me sort of going before I worked out what I wanted to do next, because I had no idea. So I think being open to change. So I met lots of people, had lots of cups of coffee. I did some advisory work, a bit of non-exec work, lots of things to try and explore. And actually, it was through that I found my way into executive search. Executive search was never on my radar, but it got onto my radar because of that. So being open to change, and that's about having lots of conversations and being comfortable with that. So I think that's one key, overarching thing. I think one thing that has come through in the conversations, hopefully today, and really the essence of the book is to look at your career more strategically. So you've got to. I think you do need to have a plan. Otherwise, it is like standing on a diving board and not knowing if there's any water in the pool below,
Yeah.
or how high is it? A 10-meter, 20-meter, 30-meter board? Are my swimming trunks going to stay on when I dive in? All these things. You've got to really think about a bit more strategically than I think people do. And some of the exercises we talked about in previous segments are part of that. We've talked about also getting out of off your planet into another solar system. Start thinking about where the adjacencies are that help you, reassure you about the fact that it's not such a big jump to go into another sector. I think one area though, which gets a lot of interest when I talk about it, is timing your run, which is the hardest thing to do. And there's a metaphor in the book. It wasn't a metaphor; it's a scientific reference point, which is the sigmoid curve. So some of your viewers may be familiar with that, but it's effectively a sort of it's actually from the world of biology, and it's a sort of decay curve. And people's careers are very much like that curve. It's all going really well. You're getting promoted. Everybody's patting you on the back, and you're getting to the top, and then inevitably it will go down the other side. It will, for anybody, even if you're the chief executive of BP, it's going to go down the other end. And actually, this is all about timing a run. And the tricky bit here is what I'm saying to people is go before you get to the top. Because what you do is, and it depends on where you are in your career and your life stage, but before you jump before you get to the top, a lot of people say, but that's crazy. But of course, you've got a following wind, you're full of confidence, you've got a great track record, all the case histories of success. And if you jump at the right moment and jump onto the right, you pick the next curve, and that curve is going to be even higher.
It's like surfing. It's like surfing, isn't it?
Catching the wave, exactly that. So I think that's another thing. It's very hard to do, and it's very hard to get yourself to that point. But I think if you've gone through some of the exercises I talked about being open to change, about being very self-aware, assessing yourself, having a good sense of what you're good at and where your value is, that in a way gives you the propellant and the confidence to make that jump on the sigmoid curve.
Yeah. There's one thing I want people to do, obviously, to buy your book, encourage them to buy your book, because I think it's great. No, apart from helping you with the sales, but I just think it is of great value, terrific value. But I like the bit where you say at the very end, that one page, copy it and paste it on your mirror. I just like that. It is so superb. But you'll have to buy Grant's book, everybody, to be able to find out what I'm talking about. Right. So let's give a final detail of your URL, which obviously viewers you can see on the screen behind me. But for listeners, let me spell it out for you. It's all the W's grant-duncan.co.uk. grant-duncan.co.uk. Grant's book is called Looking Beyond the Car in Front, a guide to making the right career choices at the right time. And it's published by renowned business book publishers, Routledge. I wish I'd had it a lot earlier in my life. Obviously, this brief trilogy can only give you a flavour of what can await you with a successful career change, but I trust it's given you the urge to get Grant's super book. Thanks, Grant, for a great BVTV trilogy.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, Malcolm.